Hello, 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 everyone. I am Natalie Mack. I'm the founder and executive director of Military Homeschoolers Association. Having a little technical difficulties this morning, unfortunately, so hopefully all will continue to go well. Now, it looks like it is. So, we're going to be talking today about a couple of things, primarily the Compass Act. I'm going to give a few minutes. I'm going to get my screen together here because I have some notes that I want to make sure that I stay on point with. All right. And if you're joining us, let me know, if you've had a chance to take a look at the proposed legislation that was initiated recently. It's called the Compass Act. And also, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and sharing this live video into your military connected homeschool community, that would be amazing to support us that way. So let me make sure I can open up. Hold on one second. I want to expand. Okay. All right. So let's get started. All right. Thanks for joining me and thanks for watching the replay. If you watch the replay, would you mind doing hashtag replay? That really just helps us ensure that we are touching and reaching you all out there, OCONUS as well as CONUS. We see you, OCONUS, and we are invested in supporting you as well. So do not be concerned about that. So let's get going. I realized I was just on here about a month ago. Let me make sure my volume is good here. With news about the change in the JTR or the Joint Travel Regulation. So hopefully you are aware of that. This is the height of PCS season, permanent change of station, for those who are not military who may be tuning in and supporting our Facebook page and our organization. And JTR, Joint Travel Regulations. So that is the guidance that we as military connected families follow regarding a couple of things, but primarily permanent change of station, which is relocation in like layman's terms, right? Um, so there was a modification that was made that allows homeschooling materials to be counted now as pro gear under the service members pro gear, which is professional books, papers, and equipment. So make sure that as you are PCSing, you take a copy of that JTR to your local TMO so that if by chance someone isn't clear about what you are referring to, you have that. There's also frequently asked questions document available as well, where I was able to take questions up higher and get some responses back from DTMO, Defense Transportation Management Office. Okay. So just wanted to kind of bring people into the loop because there's been so many things happening that are exciting for most of us and maybe a little bit concerning for others. And so we recognize that there's varying opinions across the military connected homeschool space. As an organization, we have never stated that we are speaking on behalf of every military connected homeschool family. We cannot do that. I don't think anyone should ever state that about anything, right? But we do know there's high items on wish list that a lot, like a majority of the military connected community would love to see advocacy and movement on. And so we're here for supporting that, but we are always cognizant that some are cautious and concerned. And so it's okay. And we are going step by step. And that's why I like to come on and you can hear from what they say, the horse's mouth, the truth and what's going on, right? We are the organization established and centered and focused on military connected homeschooling families. And as such, we would love to be your support as well. So, all right. I did say back then, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, when I came on about that JTR, I did say then that more good things would come, right? And then there are more good things coming, right? I'm not speaking to those because they're not within my purview, but I am in conversations where I know there's a lot of advocacy and support coming from other organizations that want to support the growing community, which is us. the military connected community, right? So, in reference to that JTR, I still want to give another shout out because you can never shout out supporters enough. So, thanks again to DTMO. Thanks again to Mr. Stephen Simmons, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of War for Military Community and Family Policy, known as MCFP. Thank you, sir. Thank you to our school liaison community for always supporting us. And thank you to you all, our fellow military homeschoolers who attended listening sessions and who have advocated and sent your concerns and wishes up higher to Department of War. So all of us together made that DTMO policy change, and so I celebrate all of us, right? So let's get to this SLR, or the state of legal residency. Let's talk about that. That's where you're tied to with maybe taxes or driver's license. You own property, right? That is your state of legal residence. That is different than home of record. But I'm not going to get into the differences, but just know this is state of legal residency that we are advocating and moving forward on, okay? So let's talk about origins, because I'm seeing and reading some things out there in the amazing social media world, and some is correct and some is a little leaving a few details out. So let's talk about that and get clear. So origins of this whole SLR, right? Wow, it just dropped out in the news and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And some of you are like, yes, praise God, or yes, we're so excited, right? Whichever way you fall on that. So the idea to try to mitigate, right, the frequent navigation of varying state homeschool laws, that was the impetus behind us, Military Homeschoolers Association, in conjunction with our amazing partners, Military Child Education Coalition, known as MSAC, as well as our partners with Homeschool Legal Defense Association, known as HSLDA. So, in conjunction, and I want to shout them out for their support. We're all in this together. This is a joint effort. In conjunction, all of us brought this idea to Congress, right? The result was some senators decided that this was something they could get behind, that they could champion. And I'm going to shout them out because I'm thankful for them seeing the value in what we were proposing. So let it be clear, the origin was Military Homeschoolers Association, Military Child Education Coalition, and HSLDA taking it to Congress. So I want to say thanks then to, like I said, the senators, which would be Senator Cruz, Senator Budd, Senator Moody, and Congressman Harrigan, who have said, we see you, military connected homeschoolers. We realize that military life means constant change, navigating new environments and deployments and all the things, right? We signed on for, right? We want to support our country, but the reality still is that that does tax our families, right? So they signed on. They said, we see you. We see you, military homeschoolers. And they realized that not only are we moving and adjusting to new environments, and we are also, as a military family and all that involves, right? Finding your new doctor, your community, your church, your people, right? All of that. On top of that, as homeschoolers, we are adjusting to varying state homeschool laws. We recognize the states. We appreciate our state homeschool organizations who are boots on the ground lobbying to make sure that our freedom to homeschool continues to exist, right? Along with HSLDA. We recognize the state homeschool organizations. If you're not connected to your state homeschool organizations, you might want to consider that your freedom to homeschool where you are is being fought, defended by that state homeschool organization. So we recognize you all. We recognize that education falls under the states. We recognize all of that, okay? But yet, the fallout for us as military connected homeschoolers is adjusting to state laws every 2 or 3 years. That is not easy. And I will say some families just say, just follow the laws, just find out what they are and adjust. And there's that. There is that. But at the same time, it is undue burden. So For some, like I said, this is not a challenge, or it's a challenge that you just figure like we just going to keep going and overcome. And that's totally fine. And we see you and we respect you, right? But for a lot of us, a lot of our military homeschool families, that process of adjusting to state laws and relocating can be intimidating, and it is an unnecessary burden on top of already being military families in that lifestyle, which again, we signed on for and we're here for that. But still, let's talk realities. Let's talk realities. We were a Navy chaplain's family, um, and we homeschooled 23 years, moving around 16 relocations, some of them in the same area, some of them because of mold in housing, right? But that's still a relocation from one part of base, from one house to another. No state law changes, clearly. I realize that. But a lot of those 16, we were relocating from one state to the next. And I think a lot of you all can agree and say your family has relocated a lot. Again, we're not bashing that. That's the reality, right? I love seeing new places, right? But at the same time, unnecessary burden, and it can be intimidating figuring out the laws. Yes, we have the state organizations who do an amazing job on their websites and with their conventions. And we also have HSLDA, who does an amazing job with their legal page. And if you're not a member, take a look at their website, see what they offer, if that's for you or not. But recognize that they are lobbying for everyone who chooses to homeschool. And as we move from state to state, we need that support because of the reason that was the impetus behind this initiation of this legislation, right? Was because we're constantly from one state to another, or moving Oconus, which is a different scenario totally, right? But many people Oconus relocate back to Conus and have to figure out it. So there's a lot of questions, concerns as all of the movements. One of the things I see in all of the communities that I'm a part of, I shout out all of our military homeschool Facebook groups. Thanks for your support. I'm in a lot of you all's groups. I'm here to support. I'm also moderating and admin. I'm also over on our military homeschooling base, the number 2 base, military homeschool group. Join that group. We're here. I see the questions in the groups, the majority of questions. And the reason we started our podcast, Base to Base, is because families are like, anyone homeschooling there? What's the law like? How do we navigate it? I'm scared. I'm coming from a state where there was no legislation, and now there is, and I have to figure it out. Not everyone has the ease to figure out some of these things, right? We're juggling a lot. Homeschooling is a sacrifice, a worthy one. Like I said, we homeschooled 23 years, our 5 children, graduated them to college. That was their destination. I recognize it's not everyone's, but it's good, right? So we do it. We get it done as military families. We get it done. But we could use some support and help to lessen the challenges. So I'm going to get off my high horse, right? You can see I'm passionate about this. But I will say, until you live it, you might not understand. So, what is this legislation, the Compass Act that the senators have brought forth? It's proposal. It's legislation that's proposed, you all. So nothing has been passed. Nothing has changed. So I want to make sure that, and I'll recap that in a bit. So let me get going again a little bit more. You all hang in there. So greater educational continuity during PCS moves. That's one potential benefit. The second benefit is reduced uncertainty and stress for military families, as I've mentioned already. Third one would be less disruption to student records and potential graduation planning. Fourth is what? Preservation of parental choice, right? Recognition of the unique realities of military service that our civilian homeschool families don't really navigate at all unless they have a job that relocates them, but most don't. This is our life, right? This is our reality. and we are excited to support this legislation that was brought forth again by Senator Cruz, Senator Budd, Senator Moody, Congressman Harrigan, right? Super excited about that, and we appreciate that. We definitely do. So, a similar comparison, which is not at all apples to apples, just framework comparison, is the MIC 3. So if you've been homeschooling from day one, you may not, but if you've been in a public or DoD school, you may be familiar with MIC 3. MIC 3, MIC, and the number 3 stands for Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. The 3 C's, right? Children's Compact Commission. So look it up. Again, not apples to apples, but that was initiated. Let's talk at that level. That was initiated to support military families that are not homeschooling, relocating, and supporting their children's education, and the inconsistencies from one school district to the next and the requirements that were placed on our military connected kids in terms of their education. But it doesn't address, it doesn't advocate and support homeschooling, and it wasn't designed to, and that's okay. But that is, again, not an apples to apples comparison, but it is, we're looking for a way to support us, the military homeschool community, in somewhat of a similar way. The constant readjusting to new laws and ensuring that our kids don't suffer, right? And supporting parental choice. So again, this act gives you a choice. Please recognize that. You have a choice to follow your state of legal residence, which I referenced at the beginning of this, or follow the homeschool laws of the state where you physically reside. Okay? So we know there's a lot of excitement about this, and we are so happy that this is something a lot of families want. We know that there are families that have concerns. Again, we respect that. We understand, right? So I am gathering your questions, your concerns, your comments without identifying any PII, but just statements so that we can address those, so that we can consider them as we go forward. I'm not going to be responding to those here because this is a proposed legislation. There's a lot of legwork, a lot of navigation, right? We have a long logistical journey ahead of us. Please realize this is only the beginning. We realize, like I said, there are some potential hurdles to iron out, but nothing hard comes easy. So this must be a community effort, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. We here at Military Homeschoolers Association will keep you informed to the best of our ability. So, as we bring to a close, to recap, nothing has changed as of now. This is simply legislation that's proposed, significant legislation that we are thankful for, but it's not current policy. You still must follow the homeschool laws where you physically reside. If you sleep in Texas, follow Texas law, which is low to non-restrictive. I know people in Texas are like, yes. If you wake up every morning in Washington State, follow Washington State's homeschool law. This legislation, if it's enacted, it does not mean the federal government is going to tell you what to teach or not. It's simply as it is written to support the families, constantly readjusting every 2 or 3 years, but you have a choice. You can choose to continue on if you desire. If you feel that this would benefit you, you will have the choice to follow the legislation as it's rolled out. All right. So that's all I have to say about that. But again, we'll be back on to update you. But again, this was enacted. This was legislation, proposal that we brought to Congress. Military Homeschoolers Association. That's us. Military Child Education Coalition, MSAC, and HSLDA. So I support our partners. I thank our senators, and we are going forward to navigate forward. Okay, so some admin real quick. MHA is still seeking volunteers, and we're going to soon roll out an ambassadors program. Um, if you're interested in volunteering, please email information@militaryhomeschoolers.org. Information@militaryhomeschoolers.org. Ambassadors, you might want to know what that is, will be key volunteers in co ops and support groups on military installations who believe in our mission and desire to share our social media content into your Facebook group, our programs, our partnerships, and or in person off of Facebook as well. So there'll be more details about that. That's just to give you a little bit of a nugget, but we are looking for volunteers. If you're interested, comment ambassador in the comments and then message the page, your duty station. Don't put your duty station on the page, message it where no one can see but us. All right. So that is all. I thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you've watched it, do hashtag replay. Please feel free to put questions and comments because, again, I'm gathering them. No PII. I probably have left out something, forgotten something. I hopeful it's not something key. But I appreciate you all support. Please make sure you're liking and following us here on socials, that you're in our military homeschooling base, the number 2 base group on Facebook. If you're a leader, we have a leader group for you. And follow our podcast base, the number 2 base, on Spotify and on our YouTube channel. And we're also over on LinkedIn and Instagram, Military Homeschoolers Association. Again, we thank all of you all and for your support and for your advocacy and for just being an amazing community that I'm so proud to be a part of. And we here at Military Homeschoolers Association are ever consistently moving forward to support you as a community. We are you all. We have the same lived experience, and some are still living it. So thank you so much again. And I'm going to close now. Take care. Bye bye.